Okay, thanks for being here, everyone. Welcome to week three. This week is pretty exciting. We're going to be diving into something a little bit different. So, over the last 2 weeks, we've been looking at sort of a lot of asset and image creation. So, we looked at like Midjourney, ChatGPT, and Flora AI. So, all that really good stuff and all the amazing visuals that we could create. Now, in this part of the workshop, in week three, we're going to look at something a little bit different. We're going to look at beyond just the visual side of things. We're going to look at how we can turn things into actual builds. So how we can create full functioning products that people can use, as well as leveraging all those visual skills that we learned in the last 2 weeks. Now, at the moment, there's a lot of great like no code builders out there like Framer and Webflow, right? But so if you get really good at that, that really makes you a really valuable designer. But now with AI, you can actually create more complex applications beyond just site builders. So how many of you have experience with Framer? Just hit a one, or any of those no-code tools. Just hit a one in the chat and hit a two if you don't. Awesome. So a lot of you have skills with building a lot of that sort of front end stuff. But what happens if you want to build like more complex applications, right? That's probably where you get a lot of roadblocks. Let me know how many of you have experience with a little bit of coding. So hit one if you have experience with coding, hit two if you don't. Okay, so you're all pretty savvy. So I think being able to code and know the basic foundations and building blocks for that will make you that much more valuable when you leverage it with AI tools like Lovable and Cursor and whatnot. Okay, so this is a very exciting week. So this week we'll be going through Lovable and Supabase, so prototyping and looking at building with AI. So there's a lot of possibilities at the moment. So design is not just what it looks like and feels like, design is how it works. So all the great visual tools and the tricks that we had over the last 2 weeks, now we get to move beyond just that visual side. How can we combine all of that and thinking about the experience from an end-to-end point? So not only the visual side, but also when users function and interact with our products, how fast things load, how intuitive they are, and how well they work. So that whole process is design. And that's what makes it great now with AI tools. We can start doing things from an end-to-end point. So as a designer. So this week we're going to look at something I built in Lovable. And what we're going to do is, it's a little bit hard to prompt and do things live like this. So I'll give a lot of demonstrations and pretty much just give you the tooling and the building blocks you'll need to start creating your own web apps and products and things that you may want to sell or just use yourself. So this week we'll be looking at basic prototyping, how to prompt. We'll look at vibe coding, so create and explore with code. We're going to do a full build or look at a full build in Lovable, Supabase, and Github. It's a time where designers can build. So not only can we imagine things and do things in our design tool software, and not just basic prototyping, but now we can build real products, version ones that go out that people can actually use and extract value from. So Lovable is great for getting a version one out, but you can move beyond that as well. So it's a very, very exciting time. I can't stress that enough. Like, it's crazy what you can do. Like, over the last 2 weeks, we've looked at the quality of assets we can create with like ChatGPT, with Midjourney, but now we can do the same with actually what we can build and make. So that's really, really exciting. And you don't have to create like complex things too. It can be like little fun projects and things that you'd actually want to use yourself. So today, some of the key ideas I want to run through is we're going to be looking at Lovable specifically. And some of the key ideas I'm going to run through are to expect errors. So when you're prompting and using these AI tools, like errors are kind of like your friend. You have to expect errors. They're going to happen. And in the same way that when we use Midjourney, like not everything we created was great, right? We just got a bunch of outputs, like 20 of them, and a few of them will be good. And in the same light, in the same thinking, these AI builder tools like Lovable are the same. So you're going to have to expect errors and you're going to have to do tons of iterations. But it's actually not a bad thing. And even if it's not going to be perfect, actually the speed at which all of this happens still makes it a very exciting time because it makes things possible. So the speed and resources needed are at a fraction of the cost and time. So I'm going to run through this build that I created, and I'm going to teach you how to create and build your own things. But also, what I'm creating now used to cost tens of thousands of dollars. So I'd have to work with a developer, and we'd have a lot of back and forth and a lot of time and input needed to not only build this thing. So not only does it cost a ton of time, so it could be weeks to months to build that first MVP or to build that new feature, but also, yeah, and the cost too, it'd be tens of thousands of dollars to get a lot of these things done. So in the same light that it used to cost like a lot of money to get the right assets going, now you can do the same with code. So code is also getting disrupted with AI. So far in weeks 1 and 2, we've looked at Midjourney, ChatGPT, Flora AI, and the prompting in each platform is quite different. The way I prompt in Midjourney is a lot more expressive. I'm looking for open-ended things, right? So I'm looking to explore. Nothing is like prescriptive or too specific. In ChatGPT, my prompting style is a lot different. It's a lot more specific. Merge image one with image two, or if I'm asking about business advice, it's like conversing with a friend. So there's a lot of like straightforward conversational back and forth. In Flora AI, it's a little bit of a mix of Midjourney, so that exploration, but also something that's very specific in its description. So a bit of both of these two. And Lovable is different once again. So there are nuances in each of these AI tools, and you have to know the kind of inputs you need to give it to get the outputs that you want, to get to that taste of yours and that desired result that you want. So for me, prompting and Lovable is closer to ChatGPT. It's a lot more specific. It's like conversing with a developer or a friend who's a superpower, who knows everything and can do everything. So the best way to prompt for your workflow is to practice. So I'm going to give you the building blocks, but nothing is better than practicing, right? You need to get the feedback loops, right? So imagine throwing a ball. If you throw a ball with your right hand, you can probably get the ball to a certain distance, right? But if you try to do the same thing with your left hand, even if mentally or theoretically you know how to throw a ball, when you throw it with your left hand, it wouldn't go as far because you don't have the reps, right? So we need to move beyond just the theoretical thinking and also blending with actual experience to put in the reps to get the feedback loops in each of these AI tools. And that's how you get better. So get the building blocks and then start getting first-hand experience about how these tools work. So what's great about this is today I'll be teaching about Lovable, but Lovable, or the prompting that we're going to learn in here, is transferable to other AI build tools like Bolt, V0, Magic Pattern. I've used a lot of these products, and in the end, I found Lovable to be the best for my needs and the output that it gives. But all of these other tools are great as well. So you find so all the skills you learn in Lovable are not wasted into being locked into one platform. You can use any that's more suited to your budget, your needs. And yeah, so it'll be just learning how to prompt is a handy skill. So we're going to look at the tech stack today. So, don't worry about too much of this. We're going to have a tech stack for the things we need, but a lot of this stuff you don't need to be that technical. But given that everyone has here who's live has a bit of coding experience and a little bit of technical knowledge, this will be super easy for you all. So we're going to use things like Google Cloud, GitHub, Supabase, Lovable, ChatGPT's API, and Stripe, which is optional. So we're going to look at how we go from something like this, which is the early prompt in Lovable, to something more like this. So this is a product that I thought about creating. We've gone through the class in the last few weeks, and I've given you a lot of different prompts and things. And I thought, if you needed a prompt that I was teaching a week or so ago, you could go back, watch the video, or try to remember what it was. But that could be a bit of a pain in the neck, right? It's not the best. But what if I created a platform that you could just go in and you can see the examples that I've given, and you can click copy this prompt and you can just paste it straight into your AI tool of choice. So it could be Midjourney, could be ChatGPT. So that's a really handy thing to have. Now, if you had to create this tool from scratch, it'd be way too specific of a tool, right? It's too niche of a tool for it to be valuable and useful. And the amount of time and resources needed to create something like this would just take so much time, like it wouldn't be worth it. But now with AI code builders, you can create this in a matter of hours to days to weeks, better than months or the time and energy and cost that were needed to create something like this. So it's just an amazing, amazing time to see what you can actually do as a designer and someone who's got, and so much experience and a vision for something that you might want to create. So I'm going to share this tool with you and you're going to be able to use it. So that's awesome. So we're going to build it and also use it. So we're going to look at front end work. We're going to look at auth login. So we're going to use Google login. We're going to look at creating a backend database. We're going to look at creating a CMS ourselves and the visual UI UX design. Now this is crazy. Like we're not going to be doing it live all at once, but you're going to be able to do all of this as one designer. So think of all the stuff you've done in week 1, 2, and now in week 3 and 4, you can do all of this as just one person. So we talked about what you can do, like 10xing what you can do, but really the leverage starts to become really high, like 10x, 100x what you can do, which is amazing, like value capture and how much you can get paid and what you can do in the marketplace. So the big question is, okay, what can you create, right? What can Lovable do? So now I'm going to move to the browser and I'm going to give you some examples of what Lovable can do. And then we can have a look from there. Actually, just before that, in the chat, do any of you have like an idea that you've always wanted to build, like something specific or not really? I know Krista, one of the early students in this cohort, she said she wanted to build she's really into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and she's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion for her age bracket, I think. And she wanted to build a platform around Jiu-Jitsu. So this is perfect if you have one of those like things that you're always itching to build. So Sarah just said proposal software. Yeah, so now you can build all of that stuff. And I'm going to show you how it's not possible. Even if you don't have any ideas, that's fine. Really just getting in there and just creating something fun is a great way to get feedback. Okay, cool. So yeah, Sarah, if you wanted to create proposal software, you can definitely do this with what I'm about to teach, which is pretty awesome. And even if you don't have ideas, that's fine too, because you can just start creating and exploring and vibe coding, as they call it. So I'm going to switch my screen and we're going to go to my browser. Okay. Can you hit a 1 in chat so I can see that everyone can see my browser screen? Okay, awesome, we're going. Okay, so first thing we'll look in Lovable is what you can make. Okay, so this is Lovable's Builder Hall of Fame. And if you just go here, I'm going to give you a couple of examples so you can see. So not sure if you can fully see that, but someone's just created like a little particle builder. Right, so you can create things that are quite experimental. It doesn't have to be like specific software. It could be experimental things like this. Now I'm going to show you something else you can make. So you can make things that are like a web app, like a web mobile app. So this looks like it's a daily planner and meditation for the day. This one's a cool one. So this one you can draw shapes and it starts to create 3D objects based on the shape you've drawn. So you can understand what shape you've created and then start. So you can see that like it's pretty crazy what a lot of these people are building and making. So here you can create invoices, some more practical tools. You can see like a bunch of things here. So I'll share this into the chat, share this link. So you can have a look around, but really it starts with that first sort of idea, like what do you want to make? And if you don't want to know what you want to make, just go in there and have a play. Just explore and start playing around with things. Okay, so can you build? So just give me a sec, I'll just... Okay, so now I'm going to switch back over to my Figma presentation. Okay, so once you have like a rough idea of what you want to make or what you can make or the possibilities of what you can do with Lovable, the first thing before you do anything else, before you even touch Lovable, is create a GitHub account. You don't have to do this live currently. You can if you want, but you don't have to. Just check back on the replay and just set it all up. So create a GitHub account. Once you have a GitHub account, you can then sync that to Lovable later on. Then you'll need to create a Supabase account. And then once you have GitHub, you can use GitHub as the login for Supabase. So you use GitHub to set up your Supabase account, and then you set up your Google Cloud. So I've copied all of these links. So Mo just asked, never wrapped it around his head what GitHub is for. It's just for managing your code base, Mo. So pretty much just a place to have version control for your code base. Yeah, we're not developers. It's a it's a tool you don't really use much. But that's pretty much what developers use. And if you're starting to build products and create things, it's pretty much what you need to keep your code base and version control. Does that help, Eddie? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I'll just show some of those things. So next is we're gonna look at prompting our idea, right? So this like Lovable, this AI builder tool, it all starts with a prompt, but there's a couple of ways you can approach this, right? So I'm going to show you the first prompt I created for the project and the product we're going to look at. But there's 3 ways you can do it. You can vibe code, which is what I did, which is just go straight into it. Just tell Lovable what you want to create. So I'll just go through my prompt. I want to create a resource library of AI prompts that you can click to copy and that you can paste into ChatGPT. Start with a prompt like this. Create an image of a male model wearing his jacket, blah, blah, blah. So this is what I taught in week 1. And week 1 and week 2. So I wanted to create a platform around that, which I showed you earlier. Or you can start with a Figma or screenshot and then paste it into the prompt bar and then tell Lovable to just create this page. And I'm going to show you an example of that too. Or you can do something else, which is a hybrid approach. So you can start off with a prompt like this. And then once Lovable gives you the output, you bring that output into Figma, then you start designing it, and then bring it back to Lovable. And that's kind of what I did for this project as well. So I'm going to show you pretty much all 3 and how that works. And pretty much that's the perfect building block for you to go out there and create your own things. So it's a bloody damn exciting time. So we're going to look at workflow ideas today. So today is a little bit more technical, more demonstrations, but really, I promise you, this is going to be worth its weight in gold. So everything we learned in week 1 and 2 with the visual stuff, that's already super amazing. But if you can compare that with like week 3 and 4 stuff, and start practicing and like watching this workshop in your own time, like combining all of that together is like it's like a superpower. It's going to be nuts what you can actually do. And the gap that's going to be between you and like the next person is going to be huge. Like whoever's on board with this is going to be able to output and create work that's not only quick, but also the quality is going to be insane. Like it's nuts. So we're going to be looking at setting up Supabase. We're going to look at GitHub, Google Auth. We're going to look at screenshot prompts and then giving it directions. We're going to look at incrementally improving and adding features. So the trick with like these AI builders is don't add too many things at once. It gets hard to debug. So you just incrementally build and prompt things as you go along. Keep fixing things. If you're in a fixing loop, you can revert back to an old version in your history. You can do direct edits for styling. It's useful to learn like Tailwind CSS attributes. I'll go through that in a sec when we're actually in Lovable. You can ask the chat in Lovable to ask questions. Excuse me, I'm just going to grab a bit of water. So you don't always need to edit. And then we're going to vibe code and then do a bit of what I call like Figma and vibe coding tennis. So code, bring it into Figma, make adjustments, bring it back to code and back and forth. And then finally, like coding is fun. It can be creative as well. It's a very awesome and fun endeavor, much like at the visual side of things. Actually, once you get a knack for building products and scratching your own itch and then building things for clients, it's actually very exciting. So in the beginning, it's great to just create for your own pain points. What knowledge do you have that's very specific to you and your workflow and how you work with things? And then start creating things around that. I think that's usually one of the best ways to go about it because you have specific knowledge, things that only you know or knowledge that only you have that can create this very like targeted product. And then from that point on, should you ever want to like sell it or do anything with it, you could. So that's another massive value capture. So you can do it for either clients, but you can also now create things for yourself and a whole customer base. So I'm going to show you the project we built here that I built specifically for this cohort. But given my audience, my marketing engine, like just this project I created here in Lovable that cost me probably less than $100 in like coding credits, I'll probably be able to make, if we're looking like return on investment, like tens of thousands of dollars on this. So I could just sell this as a service or like a once-off payment, and I could probably make tens of thousands of dollars just off of this one product that I created as a demonstration for this class. But it's showing you if you pair marketing by and serving up like an audience, like a group of customers really, really well, and then being able to create a really great product just with Lovable, like there's so much value you can capture for yourself, your customers, but also for your clients. If your clients have specific things, tooling they will want to build, you can do that now. You can offer that now as a service. So the value of like what you can provide and offer as a service has just gone up drastically. You can do things end to end really, really well. So from the assets we talked about and like these full service, like digital service thing was like a one-stop shop, used to cost like a ton of money and a ton of people to put it all together. But now with one person, you can just do so much. It's almost unbelievable. So, in a next few years, there's going to be a big disruption that's going to happen from the people who can do all of this stuff and the people who can't. So, yeah, you're going to be ahead of the game. So now we're going to jump back into Lovable. Can you let me know in the chat if you just have a free version of Lovable or if you do have a paid version? Hit 1 if you have the free version, and then 2 if you've got the paid version. Okay, so we have some paid and some free. So free version is fine, guys. Like just to learn is fine. We're not gonna do too much, but should you ever want to get really deep, then I do suggest to buy some credits and just even the lowest plan's enough, like 100 prompts. I think that's like $30. And of course, this workshop's really gone through a lot of stuff. So just when time permits and you want to have a play around, I do recommend getting some credits. But for this, just to learn, I think the free version is fine. You can still learn how all the tooling works and follow along today. And then, yeah, so just have a play around and we'll try to create your first prompt today. So you're going to get your first output. But what we're also going to do is, yeah, so you're going to be able to do a prompt, but we won't do too many back and forth demonstrations because it does take a little bit of time for Lovable to think. So let's go to our browser now. Let's go back. Okay, so as mentioned, before you jump into Lovable, so this is for everyone else who's watching the replay or once you really get started for real, I want you to just create a GitHub account. So I'm just going to sign in. I want you to create a GitHub account, so I'll close that. Then I want you to move over to Supabase and then use your GitHub login to set up Supabase. Okay, now that we have that, then once you have that, you've got a Google account. I want you to go to Google Cloud and then you can set up. So this is optional. Can you buy? So Sarah just asked, can you buy Lovable credits without subscription? Not to my knowledge, Sarah. I think you do need a subscription, but you can just subscribe and then unsubscribe, like all of these tools. Actually, a lot of the tools, I don't keep them running forever. I just kind of downgrade them or like stop them or upgrade them as I need, as I'm doing things. So yeah, I definitely don't just keep it on because like I said, it can add up like 4 or 5 tools here and there, and suddenly it's like a lot of money quickly, and you don't even notice it. Okay, so let's go back to this. And then, so once you have the Google Cloud thing, so all this is for everyone is just to, when you go to a web app and you log in, it gives you the option to like log in with Google. That's pretty much it. When you're setting this up, it's pretty much allowing people to log in with Google to your app, which is really handy. So once you do have this set up, I'm gonna blitz through this. So you can just watch this on replay when you're up to it. And of course, I'm always going to be here to help. So if you're starting building this and creating your stuff, always message me on Slack or on Google Classroom or just email me personally. I'll be more than happy to help step you through this. So what you want to do is create a client, and then it's gonna have something like this. I won't go through the whole process, but what you want to do is hit web application, and then just give it a name for your application. And what's great about Lovable is actually it gives you like the step-by-step process. So in Lovable, it will tell you how to do each of these things. It'll give you the URI and like the redirect URI, and you can just paste that in. So Lovable is going to step you step by step through that. So I won't go through that. But once again, if you set this up and you get a little bit stuck, I'm always here to help. So please message me. Okay, so close this. We've gone through this. Okay. So I want to show you some of the things I've created. So this is when you go into Lovable and logged in, this is pretty much what you get. This is this prompt thing, this prompt bar here. And you can just attach an image if you like. So if you want to start off with having the design already done, you can paste that in here. And then you can start to prompt. So you can just say, make a productivity app, for example. So that's super broad, but you get more and more specific. So you can have some examples here. So Lovable gives you some examples. Note-taking app with folders, tags. You can do a recipe collection. So, and you can go back to that Build a Hall of Flame for some ideas. And then I'm going to show you some early ones that I played around with. So I had an idea. So I have to use social media for my business. I don't love social media. It's just something I've got to do. But I thought, what if I can just create like a social media image generator? So I just copy all the images in, and then it gives me output on. So I'm going to actually click through this so you can see it actually. Okay, so build me a tool that takes all my images, assets, videos, and GIFs and spits out social media content that gets posted automatically to drive awareness and ultimately sales for my design course or business, right? So this is what Lovable spat out. So this is great tooling. It's got things that actually function. So the date picker works. You can select times, and then you can create content. But in the beginning, all this is just the front end. There's no smarts behind it yet. It's just the base plate. So how do you get it from here to have the full smarts behind it, like the database and all that good stuff? So what we're going to do is go back. So I want to, let's see what I want to go through here. Okay, so that's one of the ideas. So let's go back. And I've just created a bunch of these, and you can go down to the community section and you can see the different ideas that people are building. And visually they're not great. Some of them are like, could be a bit better than others, but it's just about that base functionality. You can actually get it super, super polished, what you can do in Lovable. So I'm going to show you a couple, this is my example. So let's see, Lovable does bug out a little bit, so this is not fully working. So if it does bug out, just bear with me. So I'm going to show you this first version that I created here. So the very first prompt I created before it became this, I'm going to show you the process of which it's gone through, right? So I'm going to show you the initial prompt that I gave it, which is create that prompt that I gave you before, which was create an AI library of prompts that people can copy and paste. So I got it to create this first version here. Super simple. Doesn't look anything like what I created. A prompt library, but it's got the gist of what I want. So it's got a cat, it's got a title, it's got the image, example, result, and now it's got this one function, which is prompt copy to clipboard. Okay, so once I had that, I was like, okay, add me a sidebar so I can actually filter between the different types of prompts. So you can see this little sidebar got added. So now it's got filters, so it's actually working. we've got the front end going. So it's got two filters here, Midjourney and ChatGPT. And then we've got this little thing where it collapses. I didn't ask it to do that, it created it all by itself, which I thought was pretty awesome. Okay, so once we had that, I'm like, okay, what if I wanted to like sign in, right? So I added this little sign in thing and then add a prompt. So now you can add a prompt. But once again, this is just front end. It doesn't store anything at this point in time until you hook it up with Supabase, which you can do as well in Lovable. So then I'm like, okay, now that we have a login screen, you create this login screen. So you can see it's like piece by piece, it starts to evolve. And this is in a matter of like 30 minutes, maybe to a couple of hours. You can start to build up. And then I thought, okay, now I want to build like a CMS in the back. So now it's sped up this. And you can see some of the content I started adding already. And then I actually created this like drag and drop feature here. So it was originally just an upload, and I asked Lovable to like make a little drag and drop image thing. So even with my basic coding knowledge, back then it would be quite difficult for me to do. So Katie just asked, what was your prompt for the CMS? Is it just create CMS? Yeah, pretty much was. I'm going to go through the exact prompt, Katie, but pretty much was. So what I do is I built the initial thing. I built the initial thing. So I asked it to build the thing that I want. Once it has the front end and then adds all the features I want. Okay, I asked it to build the login. And then that took a little bit of tweaking. And then I asked it to pretty much, yeah, create a CMS for this. And then it tells me to like, all right, please hook up Supabase, your Supabase account, and then GitHub as well. So I'm going to go through that, Katie, but and pretty much that, then it starts to create this for you. Does that help? Yeah, that's insane. It is insane. it is insane because I remember working with a ton, like 2 or 3 developers for us to like build and integrate all this stuff. And now you can do that just with one person. So you do the front end and the back end. And the smarts and the logic has been done. So when it first creates it, there's no logic, but you can build the logic. Okay, and then eventually you get to something like this. Log in. Let's see, log in with Google. Actually, let's go back there so we can see the full screen. So then once you've cleaned this, I'm going to go through that. So this is just a super rough front page. It's not fully designed or anything. But then I designed the login to make it really nice. So if you compare it to like that first login, let's see if I can find it. That login screen, that's essentially the same screen. All I did was just designed it up, right? So I brought it back into Figma. So I'm going to show you my Figma file. I'm going to show you my Figma file in a sec. And then I can log in. So live demo, hopefully this works. So this is the Google Auth thing that we set up. So it's a bit funky, but you can change the name later on. Okay, so now we're in. So I have my user account here. We have these different prompts that I added in the backend. This is all real code. It's then we've got this expander here. We have a search, so you can type in things like, oh, I want to find that. What was that prompt for the stickers? Right, so you can find the prompt for the stickers. And then the UX is not perfect, but you can start to adjust that over time. So incrementally building and improving. So there's still things I want to fix, like, you know, this can be more, this grid can be better, like there's too much white gap here. You can add more cards in and see what that looks like, but the gist of it is it's working really well. But most importantly, does it do the thing that I set it out to do, which is the value proposition, which is creating these prompts really quickly. So remember how we're learning all of this stuff in week 1? Isn't it great that I'm going to share this with all of you. Isn't it great to have all of this in one place? I'm going to have like, you know, hopefully one day hundreds of prompts for you to go through here as you need things for your project. So now if I need to do stuff in Midjourney, like how did Nguyen create that image, this image here? What image blend did he use? Well, now you don't have to guess anymore. You can just go into this platform, which you can all log in soon, and just copy the prompts. So I can copy this. If I go into like Midjourney, I can copy that in there. Go back to that page. I kind of have too many windows here. So I can copy this, copies all to a clipboard, go back to Midjourney, paste the Puckaroony in. So it's in the image prompts, but I just want to move to style references. I could do that. I can keep it there too. And then now I can run the prompt just like that. So pretty awesome. And that's the same for ChatGPT as well. So now you have a workflow that makes things a lot quicker to get the same outputs that you wanted. So let's go back. And that's how I can just provide more value for this class than all the people who supported this workshop. But that's pretty insane how I can create a tool like that that's so specific, but like have the resources and time to be able to do it. So this only took like a couple of days to create, and that includes like the login, that includes the database, the CMS, and really it was just a couple of hours each day. So it's really insane what you can actually do today. Yeah, it's madness, Kate. It's Lovable is epic. It's I think of all the tools, I found it to be the most intuitive to plug in with like actually having a backend. I thought V0 was really good. I'm sure they're all really great now, but they seem to only create the front end to be able to put all the logic in. I found Lovable to be the best. And Lovable does like an okay job with some of the designs, but as a designer, we can fix things. So as we go through that, so we're going to go back. So we're going to close all this. We won't need those anymore. I'm going to go back to this. So what we're going to do is, okay, so I think Lovable, what I'm going to do is now show you some of the actual prompting, and I'm going to get you to run your first prompt in Lovable. And so if you can just go into Lovable. If you don't have Supabase and GitHub synced with Lovable yet, that's fine. You don't have to do it for this first prompt, but if you can just go to Lovable in your browser and just open it up, that'd be great. And let me know if you can see that first prompt window in the middle. So what I'm going to do is just go back to my history here, and I'm just going to run through how this project sort of started to evolve. As you can see all my prompts here. I think I used, from memory, 130 something prompts for this. But to get the base version, it didn't take much to really create it, get it going. Okay, so if you give me a 1 if you have Lovable opened already in the chat, and I'll just wait till it's gone. Okay, awesome. So as I do that, just bear with me. As I go to the first prompt of this. So Mo had a really good question, sort of statement. Like, so Mo's played with Lovable, it works really well. But the main friction is the design aspect, getting it to feel polished as you would in Figma. Yep. And that's exactly, oh, excuse me. That's exactly what we'll go through today, and sort of the workflows on how you can create something that's a lot more polished, like this login page, I think, is a lot more polished once you've designed it up. So the image is still loading. But I think like getting that base layout first that I got, and then how can you sort of craft it so it's really polished looking. And I'm going to show you that workflow now. So first we're going to go back to this very first prompt. Okay, so this is for everyone who hasn't used Lovable before. So the first thing I did was just pretty much just this prompt here. I want to create a resource library, and all I did was just paste it. I just wrote this on the home page. So I want you can do one of two things. You can write your own prompt. So just imagine something you want to create and just get like pretty prescriptive as you can, like as closest to this for the things you want to create. And if you don't know what you want to create, then you can just use my prompt, which I'm going to copy paste here. Or you can use the little things on the bottom of Lovable, the suggestions, like a recipe thing. Just click on any one of those and then paste it in and then hit prompt. And then once you've done that, just hit 1 and I'll just wait for everyone. And Lovable will start spinning up and have a think. But it's just to get you used to the interface and get started. So I'll wait. So once you've done that, just hit 1 and we'll just wait for it to generate whatever it creates. So we'll just wait here for a few minutes. And then once it's complete, I'd love it if you can just give me a screenshot of what you see and just paste it into the chat. So if you're watching this on the replay, yeah, I want you to just pause the video and just do the same and just follow along and just get that first prompt in. So in the free version, I think you get like 5 prompts, and really it's just to build that familiarity with the tool, like how it all works. I'll just wait a little bit longer. Okay, it can take a while, so yeah, awesome. So I'm seeing some results in. Awesome. So Ashwin did one for timesheets, which is awesome. So it spat something out. You can see the layout and stuff not quite right, but it's pretty amazing where you can get a lot of the like base design patterns and functionality for you. Like even if you had to design that from scratch, you have to think about all the user stories, like the different things that you need to have, what needs to get added, like the overall user flow, and just even the base like flows that you need to get. That creates a lot of like mental space that you have to take up just doing the basic stuff. Now, if you had something like output array like that in Lovable, it's great to be able to have that as a starting point and start to remix and sort of improve over time. And that's what I think is amazing about these AI tools. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going now. So once you've done your prompt, what happens is it starts to give you feedback. So it starts to give you feedback on what you can do next. So it's prompted that the cards that first came out. And I'm going to just show you a preview of that, which is what I showed previously. So it pretty much just gave you something like this. That's the output you get. Or whatever output that you got. When you prompted, you get a specific output. So once we have this, it's good. It's a good starting point, but it's not what we want. And that's the point. You just keep building upon that. And that's what you call vibe coding, right? So it's just exploring. In the same way, in like Midjourney and ChatGPT, we go really, really wide, and then we start to like narrow in. In coding, think of it the same way. You're going to go wide. It's kind of not there yet, but it has base functionality. And then you're going to start to narrow in on what you want it to do and then start refining really, really quickly. Like if I was to work with a developer to do this, it would take like a ton of time. But now with this, the back and forth is like really quick. Okay, so once you've got that prompt, I'm going to go through a couple of interesting workflow things. So you can see here, once we've got that, it kind of Lovable suggests like, do I want to connect it to Supabase? Right? What do you want to do? So what you want to do is go up here, and I want you to once you have Supabase connected, you should connect it through here. And all it is, it's really simple. You just click here, and I think it says like connect. And Lovable is great because it'll walk you step by step. Like it'll tell you what's next. It'll tell you what to click. So you just click these links here, and it'll pretty much take you to the correct page. So here's GitHub. So just sync these two things up. And then once you have those synced in, like the sky becomes the limit. Then I asked it to add a sidebar. So it's just this like a lot of back and forth. So I can see a lot of great examples coming through now. So let's see what else we have. So Joe sent something in. Let's see. We have hey, prompt library. So Lovable spat out something different. And let's see what Sarah's got. Yep, another prompt library. So you can see they're all quite different, like what it spits out. And then Kate's got one for a fire status tracker. So this is great. So I'm going to go back to, so when you're designing, right, sometimes you need to prototype things. And I think like 90% of the time, Figma does a great job of it. You can click it, you can do user testing, you record it, get feedback. But then what happens if you have like complex logic, right? So I think Kate has a really good example here, which is this fire tracker. So if you need to like have some like a like technical, or let's say, so if you need to like track something that requires like mathematics, like you can do that with variables in Figma, but it's not great. If you do like a mortgage tracker or like a financial tracker, you can do that in Lovable really quick, and it'll get the logic much better than what Figma can do and how long it would take. So those are the kind of things we can use Lovable to prototype instead of Figma. So even doing that in your workflow is great. So you can create a screenshot and then paste it into Lovable and then ask it to create the logic around that. So that's a workflow. So what I'm going to do is go into Figma and show you how I start to refine things. Right, so that's the basic stuff. I'm going to go to share the screen. We're going to go back to Figma. See where my Figma file is. But give me a sec. I can't see Figma file. So I'll just share desktop, that's fine. Okay, can everyone see my Figma file? Hit 1 if you can. Just double checking this. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what I do is once I have some basic prompts in Lovable, let's say, so this is what Mo was talking about too. Let's say it created all the screens we just saw, right? Maybe you think they're like good 50% of the way there, or they're not there at all. But once you have these screens, you have all of the components you need. So when we have titles, we have this sidebar, we have this login, we have this ad prompting. And then from there, you can start to tweak your designs. So this is a couple of quick mockups I did. So I thought, okay, so I took all the components that were here and I just laid it out in a way that I thought was, yeah, visually better and a better user experience for the user. So I tried to have the cards like this. And of course, the design is not perfect. It's not groundbreaking or amazing or anything, but it gets, first of all, for version 1, it gets the job done. Yeah, I think it's like 90% of the way there. And also it serves a key purpose. So if you're searching for that specific prompt that I talked about in this workshop, you can find it. And that's the most important thing. It's not just about how it looks, it's how it works as well. So think like sites like Craigslist, they don't look the best, but they serve a really good purpose. And that's the thing that you need to lock in first before you play around with the visuals. Then I played around with a couple of different ideas. So what if you just had an image and then you can click on it and then it expands the prompt instead so it looks nicer. And these are all things that you can now just not only create in your design software, which is sort of like pretend, right? But now you can just do it straight in code. So you can have it actually built. So this is the login that I created. So how do we go from this here to creating this login here that looks a lot nicer? And then just something really quick, just mocked up really quick and then created this home page. So what I do is I select the frame, right? And I just hit Command-Shift-C. So just copy it as a PNG. And now I pretty much just go back to, so I'm going to switch the screen back to the browser. And pretty much just go back into Lovable. And what we do is pretty much just paste it in here. And I'm going to show you the prompt. So once we have our login page, so you can get an inventory of all the pages you've created by clicking this thing up here. So I have a login page, an admin page, prompts page, this little home page here. I'm just going to go back to this chat. So Kate just asked, can you export Lovable outputs into Figma, or are you just creating Figma designs from it? I'm pretty much just creating screenshots. So I'm just screenshotting Lovable. So this Lovable output here. So I'm just screenshotting this, and they're just bringing it into Figma, and then bringing the screenshot back to Lovable. But some tools do have a one-for-one. If you want, I can actually send link a resource where if you have like really great like auto layout and the design is like design in Figma and it's got auto layout and everything working, you can actually use a specific plugin called Builder.io to then bring it into Lovable, and it gets it closer to a one-for-one. But for my workflow and what I recommend, I think just using screenshots works really well, because in the end you still always have to tweak things. So that's what I recommend to do. Okay, so once you have this screenshot here, so the prompt I would create is, I'm going to show you my thinking. So I already have that base login. So turn the login page. So you do turn the / login page to match this design with the screenshot. And then I'd pretty much just run the prompt. And that's pretty much, it's really that simple. And then from there, you can just start to adjust things ever so slowly to get that first version. So See if Figma's still there. How I got that first version, this thing here, to become more like my design version to this thing here. And of course, it wasn't like super simple, but I didn't just... So I'm going to switch back to the browser. So it wasn't like I just did this really quickly and then it got it perfectly. No, it still takes a lot of tweaks to get it right, but the iterations are really, really quick. Okay, so what I'm going to do is... Okay, so that's the one workflow and process I wanted to go through. So I've got some of my notes here. I'm just going to make sure I've covered everything. Screenshot. Okay. So as you're building in Lovable, you want to do one thing at a time. So once you build each page, and then you brought the screenshot in, so these are all your pages that get built here. You can do things like edit to let Lovable have a think. Okay, so let's say you want to edit specific things, right? Like some of the text here. So actually you have a direct edit tool here. So this could be good for Mo or anyone else who hasn't used this, who just wants to tweak things as well. If you just click the edit thing, you can edit the text. So whatever. Right, you can adjust the styling, so you can change the font size here. So you can do direct edits as well. So it's not just through the prompt bar, like, oh, make the text bigger. You can start to visually change things. And then here is just the Tailwind CSS. So you do need a little bit of basic coding, but a lot of you guys here were pretty technical already. So you just got to add those kind of parameters in, right? So even I'm not too familiar with some of this. Sometimes I just Google it really quickly, like, how do I change the margin top? And I find it on what for Tailwind. And then I just pretty much add it in here. So that's pretty much how you can do direct edits. So remember all those prompts that we just created, all those examples that we had? Like a lot of the layouts were pretty shoddy. They're pretty average, but the functionality is there and the build's there. So all you have to do is just either screenshot that and then recreate some of the features in Figma and then bring it back into Lovable. And then once it's created a design that's closer to your design, it's not going to be not quite right. But then you can start editing it, right? You can tell it to change the parameters, change the fonts. So Sarah just asked, did you set it to work with Tailwind or is that a default thing? It's a default thing. So that's the thing that it sets up automatically in Lovable. So yeah, so we have all of these basic features. Now what else I want to talk about? Okay, so I think I got a feeling that things might bug out. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna log in to discount. Okay, so I'm gonna do like a live demo. So Ashwin asked, how do you view the web pages and style sheet? I think what you can do is, I don't know if you can view, you'll have to go, if you want to do that, you'll have to go through the live version and then just do inspect Ashwin if you want to check, but I'm actually not too sure. I can probably find out and get back to you, but I'll pretty much do all the styling, not in the traditional way, in like the style sheet and styling it, but just styling it straight through here and just prompting as I go. Katie asked, does Lovable do animations well? Yeah, it can, Katie. It can do animations pretty well. If you actually go through, if you remember that Hall of Fame builds, you can see all the animations and all the things you can do. You can create pretty much nearly anything you can think of. It's pretty much like the best front end dev you'll know. It's the best back end dev you'll know, and the speed at which you can go is really quick. But it all comes down to you and how well you prompt to get the machine to do what you want. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay, so the best way to learn is pretty much just to watch someone go through the process. So let's just start prompting a few things. It's going to be a little bit slow, but so we can see here it's got this great filter. But let's say I want to create a tag here, right? Let's say I want each of these cards to have a tag. So let's prompt that. Let's do some vibe coding now. So we're gonna go live. So Mo asked, do you recommend building your app page by page? Yeah, I do. Because once happens is from the initial prompt that you create and it creates all the pages and whatever it creates, I do recommend going by page and section by section. Because what happens is like Lovable doesn't have any context between certain things. So if you break one thing and you have too many things happening at once, it's hard to revert back because it can just break the whole app like really quickly, and you have to keep debugging. But if you're just working on specific sections, what you can do is have this like version control here, and then you can sort of pick off where you left off. Like once it breaks, if things do break, I think it's a lot better now than it used to be. Like a few months ago, it used to break all the time, but I think the logic's gotten really good now. But by building it piece by piece, you know when the last version worked best. And then if it does break, you can go back to the previous version and then build upon from that. But if you've created too many things at once, it's hard to debug and know like where you left off. So my recommendation is like, yeah, incrementally improve things and page by page or section by section. Does that help, Mo? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so like I said, I've pretty much shown the basic building blocks. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to show you how to prompt, right? So once you have your project, your first part going, what we're going to do is, let's say I wanted to create a tag for each of these cards. So um, I'm always polite to AI anyway. Please create a tag for each of these prompt cards based on the category it's in. Okay, so paste it in. So there's another thing that I want to highlight. So you can actually, as you're building, you can tell it to prompt things, but you can also ask lovable questions. If you click this little chat thing, you can actually ask it questions without like prompting a change in your design or in your build here. So you can ask it like, I don't know, general questions like, what was the very first prompt that I created? So that's a question I asked in the chat, and then it'll pretty much tell you. So go back, it'll tell you what you created versus just creating changes here. So you can do that as well. So if you have general questions you need help with, like, how do I plug this into Supabase, right? You can actually ask the chat, and then it'll give you a step-by-step process on how to debug and fix things. So you can see that it'll take a little bit of time here. Sometimes it works faster than others. We'll just let it have a think, and I'll think about other things I'd like to cover. So as mentioned, we have all the pages here. Make sure I've covered everything here. Okay, so it's pretty much created a plan for what you want to create. And it'll give you a rundown, and see, it even gives you like a full logic of what it plans to do. And then you can just implement the plan. And then even when it errors, it has like a debugging feature where it starts to keep inventory of like all the things it's erroring. And then you can just hit fix, and actually a lot of the times Lovable will just fix things. And actually its success rate has been really good lately with the latest update, with this newest version. I think this new like higher played version just came out. I don't know if they've done updates to the way it works, but compared to a few months ago, it's much better. So like 99% of the time, the fixing will pretty much just fix itself. So if you're ever coding, like vibe coding, and then like running into issues and it's fixing, and for whatever reason, if it's not working, just go back to the version, revert back to a version that was working previously, and just change the angle of how you're fixing the problem. And usually that would solve it. But I'd say like most of the time, you don't even need to do that anymore because it works really, really well. Okay, taking a little bit of time today. Usually it's a little bit faster than this, but it's all good. Actually, while we're here, what you can do is, let me just copy this. So pretty much soon you'll all have access to this, and once I add more stuff, but you can actually check out this page yourself too. So I think at the moment, if you just log in and sign up, you should be able to just sign up with your email, or if you go through Google, you should be able to use this. So you can start to see me building this live. There you go, awesome. So just like that, now we have these awesome tags that have just got created. So rather than just creating a pretend mockup in like Figma or something like that, we can just deploy that and then deploy that live to code, and this will be into production. But you can also just start to play around with the thing that actually works. So now it's added this in, and actually what it does really well is it starts to think about a lot of things. So sometimes you might want to do things in the back end. So I'm going to actually show you another example. Okay, so this is fine, right? Yeah, okay, you can have it not push to production immediately. So it just depends on like the version you have up. Ashwin asks, where's the website hosted GitHub? At the moment, I think it's just on Lovable at the moment, but if you do want to deploy it properly live, you can just ask Lovable chat, want to deploy it live to WW or whatever. Give me the steps behind that. I can probably get back to you to give the full steps, but I haven't deployed this live yet, so. But actually, we can just do that here. Yeah, it pretty much, Lovable is amazing. It's like the best mentor, like a coder agent. Pretty much, it's like a super employee that works for you that can do like a ton of things. So once we have this, let's say we have this and it's okay. I mean, the positioning is a little weird, right? And we wanted to fix this. So what will we do? So I can actually just tell Lovable to move that to the top of the title, or I can just screenshot that. Right, and then I can move that into, so I'm just giving you two workflow options. You can screenshot that, bring it back into Figma, move this thing up top, and then have the title underneath, and then paste the screenshot back into Lovable, and then tell it to adjust it based on the screenshot. But I'm just going to tell it straight and see what happens. Can you add the tag to the top of the text, the heading text? So the top of the heading, so it does. Can you add the tag to the top of the heading text? Yeah, I think that should be enough. And then have the heading text on its own row. Okay, so it'll give you some instructions, see what it does. And then if you prompt that and it doesn't quite get it, then yeah, then that's usually when I'm like, okay, stuff this. I'm gonna go into Figma and then adjust it, give it a screenshot so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I'd say most of the time it gets it pretty right. So as we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you some other interesting things. So these are all pretty simple things, right? It seems pretty simple, but the logic and the things behind it is pretty like amazing. As mentioned, it's hooked up to Supabase. It has a full CMS running. You can edit each of these things. So as I was building this out, I started adding more features. I'm like, okay, so if you go back to this prompts thing, even the order in which it appeared, I'm like, no, sometimes it doesn't look as nice if this is like next to that image. Designer, he's just trying to make it like super like as visually nice as possible. But then I thought, okay, add a little like rearranger thing so I can like change the location on it. So it's drag and drop. Like back then for me to code this and try to make this like manually would be so difficult. And not to mention plugging it into the CMS as well. But now you can do that. So if I wanted to move this to the top, it'll save the order. And this is the kind of advanced logic I'm talking about. Even if you do have a little bit of technical knowledge, it's like the speed at which you can do these things is just like way faster. So now that's moved to the top. And so that's amazing. And then you can see that it's added this tag to the top. And if you want to change the styling for that tag, you can as well. So you can just go a direct edit of this, which doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to add styling. So that doesn't quite work, but you can just do like change the tag colors to, let's say, to black for all. I'm just going to do it as an example. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Sarah had a great suggestion, like change to accessible colors. Like the contrast on this is like totally not gonna roll. So let's do that. So change the color tag colors so they are accessible and AA compliant. Let's see what it does there. Let's see if we can think about that. So once you have that base thing, so you can see how much has changed from that like first version I created. So from that, how did we go from this to something that has full login? Let's go back. So something that has a full login, a database, the front end, a lot of different features, and it can keep users. So all of this as one person. So there you go. Now it's done that. And it gives you the reasoning behind it. So it's changed to blue, how much contrast it's been given. And there you go. So now it has better contrast. It's compliant to AA standards. So you can see that the machine has a lot of like contextual awareness as well. So not only can it code, it has contextual awareness, and yeah, it can do a lot of things at once, which is pretty insane and amazing. Like it's pretty like really nuts what you can do now. So that's one part. Let's see what else we can do. I kind of want to make an error on purpose. So let's just build, okay, let's build a new page so we can start it, get it to error somehow. Okay, so let's go back to, let's see what else we can make. Let's see what I can do here. Okay, what else do I want to cover? Okay, I know what to do. So let's go. So now we've shown how we can iterate it slowly. Let's go from a screenshot example, right? And tell it to build a page. So I'm going to go back to Figma. And let's just design something else quickly. I'll see if I can get it to error. Okay, let's say I wanted it more like this. So I'm going to screenshot this. Let's say we didn't want to showcase the prompts. So share back to the screen. Go back into Arc. And let's say I wanted to make it so it has a toggle. I'm trying to get it to error on purpose so I can show you what happens when errors occur. So I'm going to paste that in. Okay, so once we have that in, now I'm going to make a toggle switch so that you can switch the layout to have just the image and one version with the prompt and everything like how it is currently. So you can see that the instructions I'm giving is just natural language. It's nothing crazy or nothing advanced, nothing technical about this at all. But just by having this simple workflow, that pretty much this simple recipe here is enough to get you pretty much really, really far to build whatever you need to build. So it's great to be able to use all the assets and visual design things that we learned in week 1 and 2. Imagine what you can do with all of those things that you have in week 1 and 2, and then combining it with creating your own products, web apps for your clients and web apps for yourself, and even fun projects for yourself. So another fun one you can think of is like some of those examples in the Builder Hall of Fame. You can create like a background generator, a wallpaper creator, anything. Like the sky's the limit. Storybooks for your children, I've seen things like that. And then I'm going to show you a couple of other things. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to show you what I mean by like advanced logic. So I've also got Lovable to be plugged into ChatGPT's API. So at the moment, it's not fully working because I didn't load up on credits. But pretty much at the moment, I got Lovable to sync with my with ChatGPT's API using my account. So pretty much if you write a prompt here like create an image of a dragon, if you click this little thing here, this is actually synced. It won't fully work because I don't have credits. But pretty much that can pretty much generate this text here. I've just ran out of credits, but so now ChatGPT is actually updated its API. So now that it's got the image generation, you actually can create your own apps that uses ChatGPT's API. So you can ask it to create an image of a dragon, and then you can actually run that to create the image here, right? So the tooling you can create using the API here, you can create incredible tooling now. Now, the caveat with that is that it'll cost you a lot of credits. So if tons of people use it, it'll cost you a lot of money. But if you want to build your own tools and test things, like even being able to plug into that really expands what you can do and make. Like it's almost limitless now. It's almost like if you could make anything, what would you make? Right? And that comes down to your interests, what you find is fun, and also what people value, right? What people want to pay you for. Should you want to build your own SaaS, you can do that now. So it's like pretty crazy what you can do and create, which is pretty nuts. So let's go back to that prompt section, and that's pretty much all the building blocks I want to go through today. So we have this little toggle now. Now it's created a little toggle switch. I didn't tell it to do that, but it knows to create the right design pattern for it, right? So let's see what happens. And there you go. So it wasn't exactly how I wanted, but I actually think this works even better. So now you click this, and then it's done that. So that's like a neater way if you want to see how things could look. But then I might want to be like, okay, I want to be able to click this so I can see it. So, and they should pop up into a window, right? So back then you'd have to ask the developer to do it, and then you'd have to be designing it, be really prescriptive about it, like how it all works. But now you can just let Lovable give it a shot. So when am I am in collapsed view for the prompt cards. Make it so when I click on it, I can see the full details. The full details and prompts as a lightbox. So I'm doing all this live with you. So hopefully it errors. I'm kind of wanting it to error so I can show you what happens when it errors. But it's really exciting. Like, I can't believe you can do things like this. It may seem simple, but like the fact that you can do this now is just like the back and forth that it will take, and just even the time to prototype, and now not even prototype, but have something functioning and working. The time is like a fraction of the time. Even if it takes a few minutes here, back then it will take a few days just to implement this. I've had times where I've had to work with friends and developers, like, can you implement this little toggle? And just getting that working with the back end is like a massive pain. But in a few minutes, we can get that. I can't emphasize how crazy that is now, that that's possible. So you can imagine what you can do now and what you can create and offer your clients or where you work, like what you can actually do to prototype, test, and where you can add more value for the organization you work at to get paid much more, or what you can do for yourself. If you want to create a side hustle, side product, you can do all of that stuff now. All you have to do is integrate Stripe, and then Lovable will like step you, it will help you each step of the way. So this will probably be one of the last things I'll go through, but the key is really just to jump in the tools and use all of the concepts I'm talking about. And then, yeah, that's how you can get much, much better. So hopefully and there you go. Now it's just like that. I didn't design this at all. I didn't have to go in and do a pretend version. It pretty much just did that within a few minutes. Now we've got this version here, which works really great. So now I've got this functionality. The layout's much cleaner. You can see things really quickly at a glance. So if I click on this, like awesome, I can switch this little viewer if I want everything at once. So like that's pretty insane what you can do. in my opinion. Okay, so awesome. Okay, so one last thing is I'm going to show you what happens with errors because I couldn't quite get Lovable to error. I'm going to switch back to Figma. And pretty much when it errors, sometimes you get different screens, but it will look just something like this. Right? Sometimes things will just start to break. And all you have to do is hit this little F key here, and pretty much it tries to fix it. And what's great about Lovable is it works like a developer. It starts to keep all these logs of like where things go wrong. And then you just fix it. It tries to fix the error. And then if it keeps erroring, it'll be like, okay, I'll do some more research. And it'll check the logs again, like a real person. But the speed at which it does it is like way faster. Then it'll start fixing it. And like I said, so far I've had a 100% success rate on the fix. But like I said a few months ago, I did have a couple of errors. And once you can't fix it, what you need to do is just roll back to a version that worked and then just change the prompt and change the direction in which you try to fix things. And a lot of times that will resolve itself. And then if you just keep looping and practicing back and forth, that pretty much gives you all the skills you pretty much need to build whatever you want for yourself, for customers, for your clients. Like the yeah, what you can make now is just insane. Like even just seeing this, like now I'm building this and I can share this with you live and, create a really useful resource for you to make this workshop even better. And, I can do all of that just within a matter of minutes. So back then, if I had to code this, which I did, like manually do things, it would take such a long time that I just wouldn't bother with these extra features because the time sync would just not be worth it. But now, just like that, in this one session, we can add things like this. So yeah, pretty much gonna wrap up there. I think I've given all the processes needed to get started with Lovable. Is there any specific questions you'd like to ask? Of course, as you're building is when you're gonna have roadblocks, but pretty much is there any specific questions I can answer? Or everyone's seen the possibilities of like what Lovable can do? Yeah, it's really exciting, Kate. It's just amazing what you can do now, like as a designer. I think our skill is like finding market opportunities, understanding psychology and the UX behind things. And now to be able to do that and actually build it and implement all of that knowledge just as one person is absolutely incredible what you can actually do. So yeah, it is really awesome. So Kate just asked, how do you charge clients for this type of work? How do you decide on a fee? Yeah, so that would just become down to value pricing, like what the client values the project at. So, like I said in the past, this would cost like just to build this for the market in Australia at that time, this would be like $50,000 just to design, build, do the QA, do the user testing. Like this is and this is just a niche product, but this is like $50,000 right here. So it really depends on the client, what their budget is, what they're trying to make. But obviously, as more people come to the market, it'll start to saturate and bring the cost down. But we're still super early before anyone else is doing this that much. So at this point in time, it's really your negotiation, what the client comes in with their budget at, and then you asking the right questions to uncover that so that you're both happy with the pricing. And that's pretty much it, how you price, Kate. I hope that helps. So Mo asked, have you tried integrating a GPT into a design? Yeah, I have integrated the ChatGPT in API into the design. If I just go to admin here, I just didn't load up on credits because I just thought it would cost too much. But this is actually fully integrated. So as mentioned, if I just type something like that, if I click this, I've tested in the back that this actually works. So yeah, you can just sync it. And how you do that is pretty much just tell Lovable what you want it to do, and Lovable will automatically give you the suggestion to plug in your ChatGPT API key, and then you can sync it like that, Mo, and then it works fully. So now you can do image models with that now too. So amazing what you can do. Katie says it's amazing. Yeah, it really is amazing. Imagine doing all the visual stuff, doing this stuff, and then merging it all together. Like it's insane what you can do. This is one person too, mind you, by the way. So like back-end developer, front-end developer, designer, like QA testing. So Katie asked anyone lovable to share this edit view with us so we can see all the prompts. I think if you just invite, but I don't have, you need a subscription. Like the more people you invite, it costs a lot more. If you do want to see all the prompts, um, what I can do is maybe copy it or export it somehow. I'll see if I can create some sort of resource, but I can't share it with you because if 72 or 80 people get invited to this, my subscription costs will go way up. But the best way to learn is pretty much just to get in there, like use all the concepts I talked about and just prompt back and forth. You'll get a knack for it. It's not too hard. So Sarah asked, could you use to create exportable code to something in Framer, like advanced filters in Framer? If you were going to do that, Sarah, I probably wouldn't recommend doing it in Lovable. I'd probably just ask ChatGPT to give me like a code snippet, like of what you want to do, and then do through that. I've seen a lot of people do something really well, which is like they have the Framer front end and then have the Lovable app as a backend. Like so, let's just say like designworkshop.com is the front end in Framer, and then you do like app.designworkshop and then have the Lovable thing in the back end. So that's what you could do. That's a setup. Yeah, that's mad. And that's pretty much it. So that's week three. I mean, this workshop's covered so much. I'm sure there's no way you can get all of it. I appreciate all the homework that's been sent in. This pretty much this week's workshop will cover this week and next week. So all we're going to do is really just create our first little project. So whatever you prompt and want to create, that will be the project for this week and next week. And I want you to just use all the things we learned in week one and two too. So you can see I've used all the images. So I'm a huge fan. So all the images I use and created, I'm just log out. Like this example here, like combine all those assets we learned and then combine that into this. And then you can see the possibilities start to click, like how much value you can create in the marketplace at the moment, and how much more valuable you become as a designer. So now you can be a designer, builder, maker, like whatever you want. The possibility is endless. So yeah, like even my own kids, I want to teach them you can make things in the world now, like work on little projects together, like it's a fun way to do it, like chores scheduler, like whatever, something a little bit more fun. But yeah, I hope that really opens up the possibilities for all of you. And thank you so much again for tuning in this week. Thank you so much for joining this workshop too. It's a real privilege to teach, and it's fun to have you all hanging out in my office weekly. And I hope that was a good session and you've learned a few things. And yeah, you can take that into your workflow. So thank you so much, everyone.